I'd like to thank Sleep & Glow for sponsoring this video. Today we're talking about the bedroom, and because of that I wanted to tell you about something that I keep in my bedroom. I want to tell you about the Omnia pillow from Sleep & Glow, okay? Get your head out of the gutter, alright folks? Sleep & Glow gifted me this pillow back in December. And honestly, I was like, okay. I mean, I've tried memory foam pillows in the past. I'm not a big fan of them. I'm very particular about my pillows. I've got a lot of pillows. It has come up in a few discussions how many pillows I have and how I stack them and how, like, I'm a weirdo when it comes to pillows. And so when they told me like, oh, we're gonna send you this pillow, I was like, sure, I'll do the ad spot, and then I'm probably gonna shove that pillow into my closet, into the darkness. It's never gonna see the light of day again until I can find some poor sap to pawn it off on when I'm trying to get things out of my apartment. And that's not what happened. That's not what happened at all. I'm not kidding. When I say that I've been sleeping on this pillow since December 17th when I received it. It's now January forever. I don't know, this month is so long. I have sent my friends WhatsApp voice messages about this pillow. I don't know I'm talking about this pillow, and I don't have the pillow. This ain't just no pillow, folks, okay? It was designed by orthopedists, cosmologists. It's got this nice curve. It just goes with your neck. And it's got these curves on the sides, which I really like. I really love these. So anyway, the nice thing about these curves in the side is that, like, if you're a side sleeper, like me, I'm mostly a side sleeper, your face doesn't get all mashed up by the pillow, you know? It's got this nice curve to it. And it's like, I wish that I had had this pillow when I was recovering from my surgery on my nose, because I had to sleep in this really uncomfortable position with like pillows on the sides of me so that I wouldn't sleep on my side. And if I had just had this pillow, oh my gosh. And I also find that, like, when I'm sleeping on a regular pillow, like, because of that, like, because my face can get kind of mashed into it, like, it kind of like spushes one of my nostrils. And if I'm having like sinus issues, which is not very uncommon for me, I can't breathe. And so it's really nice just to have that like little divot in the side of the pillow. I really appreciate it. And since your head remains elevated, that means that it reduces puffiness, which is really nice. I used to wake up with puffiness sometimes. Since having this pillow, there ain't no puffiness here. I don't have any issues with like my under eyes being all puffy when I wake up, looking really tired and groggy. And I also appreciate that there's an insert that you can put into the bottom of the case. And I do use it because I do like to have kind of an elevated sleeping position, but that's really just your choice. It's up to you whether or not you want to slip that in there or not. So yeah, the pillow is designed to be a really nice thing to sleep on, but also to help you reduce wrinkles or signs of aging, which is nice if you're looking to save a little bit of money on all those very expensive creams and serums and all that jazz. The Sleep & Glow pillow is designed to last for 5 years. You get a 30-night trial to decide if it's right for you or not. It's definitely right for me. Use the link in the description below, or use the code Betsy10 to get 10 bucks off your purchase of the Omnia pillow or any of the other products that you'll find on their site that are designed to help you sleep and age gracefully. Thanks for listening to me yammer on about this pillow. I really do like it, and sponsors like Sleep & Glow help me to create content on a regular basis for you. Now let's talk about a little something else I like to keep in my bedroom. Houseplants. Today I want to talk about this thing that I see. It pops up in forums. I've seen articles, false articles written about it. It comes up in Facebook groups, and I've even seen it pop up in YouTube comments. There are some people out there who believe that keeping houseplants in your bedroom at night can kill you. Spoiler alert, it ain't true. So that's today's video, everybody. Have a good day. No, seriously, I want to talk about this. Like, how did this myth come to be? Why do people believe this? And what can we do to stop this myth from circulating? Simply put, plants go through a process of photosynthesis. You know, we all learned about this in biology class, so I'm not going to go very deep into that, but plants basically take in sunlight, water, carbon dioxide, simply put, like I said, and they convert that to food in the form of carbohydrates, blah, 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 and then the byproduct that is produced from this entire process is oxygen. I mean, we all know this. We're all well aware that plants, what's the word that I'm looking for? Plants give off oxygen during the day. expel oxygen during the day. It's a pretty well-known fact that plants absorb CO2, which is toxic to us during the day, and that they expel oxygen, which is very good for us. But plants go through a very different process when the lights are out. In complete darkness, photosynthesis stops completely, and plants, instead of taking in carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen, it's the inverse, because just like us, plants also breathe. It's just that they breathe a lot differently than us. We breathe about 12 to 16 times per minute. Don't think about that too hard, or you'll become kind of hyper-focused on it. Whereas plants breathe in and out, quote unquote, during the day and during the night. So people have really interpreted this in the most simple of terms. Oh, okay, so plants emit oxygen during the day and they emit carbon dioxide at night. And carbon dioxide is toxic to humans. Therefore, if you keep them in your bedroom with the door closed or whatever at night, they will kill you. That's just not true. That's just a bad interpretation of something that's a bit more complicated than that. Well, let's just consider for a moment how much carbon dioxide is hanging around in the air all around us day and night on a regular basis. Carbon emissions have been on the rise for some time. We're all aware of the effects that that's having on climate change, but how much CO2 is like regular? According to climate.gov, a preliminary analysis found that in 2020, the average global atmospheric carbon dioxide level was about 412.5 parts per million, or ppm for short. What the heck does that mean? Let me tell you what it means. What is parts per million? Parts per million means parts per million of air, like the air in this room. I mean, there are millions and millions of parts of air in this room, and only 412.5 parts per million of that air would be carbon dioxide molecules. Well, like, what is air? Like, what makes up air? You know what I mean, man? I feel like that's something that you would ask when you're really high, man. Like, what even is air? Is composed of a lot of things: nitrogen and oxygen molecules, ozone, pollen, dust, other naturally created molecules, or a little bit of methane if you just farted. Well, like, where's the line, right? Like, what is the target and what is too high? What is considered like toxic levels of carbon dioxide if 412.5 parts per million is the average? HVAC companies consider 800 to be the target maximum of carbon dioxide ppm in a space. So anything between 300 and 800 is considered normal and average and safe. According to the USDA, if the air has 5,000 parts per million or more, and you're exposed to that atmosphere for 8 hours or more, that can start to have detrimental effects to your health. An exposure to air with 30,000 parts per million or more for 10 minutes or more poses a threat to us. An exposure to air with 40,000 parts per million or more of carbon dioxide is considered immediately dangerous to human health. Well, there's a big difference between what's considered average, 412.5 parts per million, and what is considered dangerous to us, which is like 5,000 parts per million for a pretty long period of time, or 30,000 or more parts per million. Everything that I just said. Now consider for a moment how much carbon dioxide you are emitting every time you exhale. How much carbon dioxide is in the air? How high is the ppm of carbon dioxide in a room full of people who are talking and laughing or cry? I don't know, maybe it's a funeral. Look, I don't know why I went there. Or if you're just sitting around watching TV with your family and your pets, how much carbon dioxide is getting emitted into the room where you're sitting? The carbon dioxide level in the air exhaled by human lungs has about 38,000 parts per million of carbon dioxide. That's pretty high, right? If you recall, if you're exposed to 30,000 ppm for 10 minutes or more, that becomes a dangerous situation. However, every time you exhale, the carbon dioxide comes out. It's quickly kind of dispersed into the air around you. And in a really well-ventilated space, those levels will never reach any level nearing toxicity because it's a well-ventilated space and the air is circulating and the carbon dioxide molecules go bye-bye. But that's a lot of carbon dioxide that I just hear standing here talking, yakking away as I have been for some time because I can't get anything right. That's a lot of carbon dioxide that I'm just like spewing out into the atmosphere of my home, right? So how much carbon dioxide are plants emitting at night when they are going through the process of exhaling carbon dioxide? There's really only one controlled study that I could find that kind of comes close to giving us an idea of how much CO2 an individual plant is emitting at night. I'll admit it's not the greatest study out there to drive my point home, but it's the only one that I could really find. And I think that, if plants were killing us at night, I think we'd know by now. You know what I mean? I think it would be on the news. In 2015, 2 faculty members of a university in Turkey, I will leave the link to the study down below if you really want to read all of the ins and outs of it. They conducted this study. They took 5 different plants: ficus, elastica, yucca, gloxinia, croton, and basil. And they took each individual plant, put it in a glass container that was sealed and about 0.5 cubic meters in size, and then they measured the CO2 levels over a 46-hour period. Every 5 minutes they took a reading, and then they kind of took the information within a 28-hour period to provide their results from this study. And with the placement of each plant in the box, of course, CO2 levels were reduced during the day and increased during the night, which is really to be expected. But how much were they increased? I'm gonna read this information because, honey, I don't have these numbers memorized, okay? So with the Ficus elastica, or the rubber tree, the CO2 concentration fell 2,216 ppm during the day, and it only rose by 351 ppm during the night. And this is in a really small container, right? 0.5 cubic meter container. So Ficus elastica consumes approximately 6.3 times the amount of CO2 during the day that it expels during the night. And with the yucca, there was a rise of 310 ppm during the night, but the CO2 concentration decreased a total of 2,268 ppm during a 24-hour period. So for yucca, the decrease in CO2 during the day was 8.3 times greater than the emission of CO2 at night. So over a 24-hour period, it was actually absorbing more CO2 than it was emitting CO2 during the nighttime period. Does that make sense? You get the point. So with the basil, it showed very little increase in CO2. It was an increase of only 11 ppm by the following morning. Very little. It's a very little plant, but like 11 ppm, that's nothing. That's absolutely nothing. The gloxinia, there was a rise of 218 ppm in the night, but overall, the total reduction in the CO2 concentration over the 24-hour period was 507 ppm. We got one more to go. We got one more to go. The croton, the CO2 was increased by only 84 ppm during the night and over the entire 24-hour period. The amount of CO2 consumed during the day was approximately 9.4 times greater than the amount of CO2 given off at night. With these plants only increasing the CO2 levels by like double digits, sometimes 351 ppm in the night, in a tiny 0.5 cubic meter box that's like airtight, that's not very much. Consider the actual effect on a room that's like 10 feet by 10 feet with 9-foot ceilings. It's gotta be having like no effect on the CO2 levels in your room, especially if you are not sleeping in an airtight container, which I really hope that you're not sleeping in an airtight container. Are you in space? Is somebody from NASA watching this? And you yourself are exhaling so much more CO2 at night than any plant that you have in your bedroom. The plants are not emitting enough CO2 to raise the levels in your bedroom to those toxic levels that I mentioned before, like 5,000 over a period of 8 hours. Your bedroom is definitely not reaching 30,000 ppm, even if you have an entire quote-unquote jungle of plants in your bedroom. I have a grow tent that's 1 meter by 1 meter and 1.8 meters high. And it's not completely airtight, but it's pretty well sealed to keep humidity and heat in. I have a CO2 reader in it. And even if I stand there and breathe air into the tent, which I do sometimes in order to raise the CO2 levels to help my plants photosynthesize, even then, it is very difficult for me to get the air in that tiny space above like 2,000 ppm. And that's like if I breathe a dizzying amount of air into that tent. And like consider animals in the rainforest, you know what I mean? CO2 is one of the more dense molecules in air, so it falls to the bottom. So like the floor is always going to be higher in CO2 than the ceiling. So in the rainforest, that means that all of the CO2 that the plants, the trees, and everything are giving off, all of that is gonna, kill all the salamanders and like every animal that lives on the forest floor. They're not all climbing into the tree canopy at night to get some fresh air. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense. So in spite of the fact that most of the plants that we keep in our home do emit CO2 at night, even in clusters, are not emitting enough CO2 to increase the levels in our home to an amount that poses any danger to our health. And in fact, the amount of CO2 that they absorb over a 24-hour period and the amount of oxygen that they emit during the day, the amount of CO2 that they absorb during the day, far outweighs the amount of CO2 that they are emitting at night. I really hope that this video was helpful and that you learned something. And if you are interested in hearing my thoughts about plants that are marketed as plants that absorb CO2 at night, or if you would like to hear my thoughts on plants, their ability to purify the air of things like benzene and formaldehyde, let me know in the comments below. I would be very happy to address that topic in another video. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this or other videos on the topic of houseplant love and care. You can support my channel, you can support me, my cats, by joining my Patreon. The link is down below. Or if you're not ready for that kind of commitment, you can always just buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/betsbegonia. Become a Mythbuster! If you see this topic pop up in a Facebook group or in a forum or in YouTube comments, share this video. You know, let's stop this silly business. I don't know why this myth is still circulating. It's like almost embarrassing. It's embarrassing. I want to thank you again so much for watching this video. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you soon. I love you. I'd like to thank my supporters on buymeacoffee.com and Patreon, my energy booster, Christina G, my Hoy Oh My Gosh patrons, Anthony Raking, Carolyn Green, Frederick Bowman, and Tina Halberg, my Begonia buddies, Adam Banzoff, Casey Smearn Topless, Krabby Cat, Darcy Levish, Aaron Mio, Fenner Lamb, Grams _loves plants, Haley O'Donnell, Jazz and Jamie, Jennifer Broadford, Jordan, Kayla Mann, Kristen Moore, Leah A, Michelle Sadlowski, Pam Mula, Robin L. Jennings, Sherry Kumar, Tisha McCann, Ula Umlaut, Vicky Dingler, and Wendy Foreman. And I'd like to thank my Pothos pals, Amanda, Amin, Ashley Eagle, Brianna Phillips, Cece, Christina Wan, Claire Lynn, Denise Grimm, Elizabeth Mary, Elizabeth Balasquez, Emily Cephalou, Emma Greenwood, Eva Ware, Gracie, James Kopp, Jesse, Karen, Cassandra Lewis, Kelly Ash, Kelly Westover, Lexi Haynes, Lydia, Lilith Moon, Linda Thea, Lisa Glandon, Nicholas Curtis, Olga, Plantgirl _50*, Bree, Samantha, Shelley Everett, Sophia, Steve A, Vertigris Dreams, Wanyang Zhang, Zen Simmer, and one very nice anonymous donor. Thank you so very much. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.